Hello everyone, myself Deepa Singh, working as assistant professor in Gyan Vihar School of Pharmacy, SGU, Jaipur. Today we discuss about some labeling preparation and container that is required for your ophthalmic preparation, as well as evaluation test for ophthalmic preparation. Means how you prepare or how you properly label these ophthalmic preparation, as well as after labeling or preparation, how you pack or evaluate these ophthalmic preparation according to required condition for sterile preparation or more sensitive preparation. Like so, and previous lecture you already covered that introduction, preparation method, and which excipient you use, which requirement are necessary for manufacturing of these ophthalmic preparations. So today we just continue previous lecture, and this we covered labeling, container, evaluation of ophthalmic preparation. It is a topic of industrial pharmacy, one subject, fifth semester subject. So before starting this lecture or this topic, you should know about some learning object of this topic. So this is a learning object. In this, you know about brief introduction about the ophthalmic preparation. Means if you don't know about the introduction part or what are the ophthalmic preparation, then I don't understand these topics. So in this condition, we have to at least know introduction part of ophthalmic preparation and how we prepare these ophthalmic preparation, labeling container of the ophthalmic preparation, which condition is required for labeling or which format or how you label these ophthalmic preparation according to requirements. And next is evaluation of ophthalmic preparation, as well as how you evaluate different evaluation condition and parameters for this ophthalmic preparation for the evaluation. So all these are the learning object that you should know before starting this lecture. And in this manufacturing consideration, so what condition is required during the manufacturing, because it's also very sensitive material, you directly apply it into the eye, and there may be chances that if it is not a proper condition manufactured or not a sterile, then maybe affect or damage your eye directly. So in this condition, manufacturing condition or some consideration for manufacturing is required for this preparation. And in this, the environmental should be sterile and particle free. Means there's a no particle or the complete environment is a sterile in a condition, or you maintain proper sterility, including manufacturing to till packaging. So less chances of the presence of a particle or any other contamination. This should be always in a sterile form. Next is a laminar airflow. Should be used throughout the manufacturing area. Laminar airflow have a high efficacy filtration property, and it entraps all the particles in a small size also. It provides good sterility condition. That's why throughout your complete procedure from starting to last, we should use laminar airflow for this manufacturing, or laminar airflow are very good for preparation or manufacturing of ophthalmic preparation. Next is a total particle per cubic foot of the space should be minimum. Means according to your space, there's a total particle may be present or chances of the particles are present. So there's some limitation according to the area. So these area, according to these area, these particles should be in accepted limit or max, not a maximum, in a minimum condition, or try to that there's no particle are present in that particular area, maybe in the minimum condition. Next is relative humidity control to 40 to 60% for proper manufacturing of this ophthalmic preparation or condition that is required for this ophthalmic preparation. In this condition, you will maintain humidity, and humidity is mainly 40 to 60% is required. During manufacturing, you maintain this much of humidity for your formulation or for proper good stable formulation. Next, walls, ceilings, floors should be constructed of the material that are hard and non-flaking, smooth and non-affected by surface cleaners and disinfectants. Means other than these, we can also see that the construction of your ophthalmic preparation in this walls of that particular plant or area, as well as ceilings and floors, all should be constructed in a proper way so that you can easily clean or less chances of dust accumulation, or constructed that good quality material or material that are hard or non-sticky or smooth in nature and not affected by surface cleaner disinfectant. Means suppose you are cleaning that particular floor or that particular area with the help of some cleaner and disinfectant, so some that get affect or maybe damage your floor or these conditions. So this type of plant or ceiling, floor, walls are in a good condition and don't affect when you clean or apply some disinfectants into a floor. This is the industrial construction where you should completely packed condition, wear gloves, mask, gown, so that less chances of a contamination. Means personal flow is also restricted. Only required person or responsible for manufacturing are present in that particular plant area, and he or she also wearing complete instruction or follow the complete instruction for manufacturing of ophthalmic preparation. He wear gown, gloves, shoes, mask, all these things when he or she working in that particular area. Or this is done in a larger scale, and when we see that in one diagram, second diagram, there's a HEPA filters are also present, so that there are less chances of contamination or particle flow. It's provide a sterile environment. Next, after this manufacturing environment, so what is the condition of manufacturing environment is required for ophthalmic? And this ultraviolet lamp provide a flush mounted fixture to maintain the surface disinfectants. Means you put some UV lamp or another ultraviolet lamp that flush mounted with fixture or maintain surface disinfectant, because UV rays also helps to kill the bacteria or provide the sterile environment during manufacturing of ophthalmic preparation. That's why we can use these ultraviolet lamp for this cleaning fixture for as a fixture or maintain a surface disinfectants. So in this ophthalmic preparation, there's a large number of ultraviolet lamps are installed. Next is a separate entrance for personnel and equipment should be provided. When suppose you are passing some equipment or some material or from one part to another part. So in this condition, it have a two entrance, and these entrance are different. Personnel have a different entrance, and equipment entrance is also different, because both are similar. That in this condition, contamination may be occur or large chances of contamination, because there may be crowd is there. Personnel and equipment both are passes through that door. So in this condition, we provide separate entrance for personnel as well as equipments, and should be provided through specially designed airlocks that are maintained negative pressure and relative to aseptic manufacturing area. Means instead of a separate entrance, you should also maintain the airlock system of both the area, both the entrance. There's air pressure is generated, and air pressure should be negative pressure, so that particles are easily flow outside or maintain the sterile area for that particular aseptic manufacturing. So you should maintain airlocks also, and these airlocks show negative pressure only at a positive pressure related to the non-control area. If there's no condition is required in a non-control area, you can also maintain the positive pressure, but in the manufacturing area, you should maintain negative pressure only. This is a large scale manufacturing area where the manufacturing of ophthalmic preparations are done, and you can see that personnel are completely packed, and hygiene condition of wall ceiling are is also very good. It is properly sterilized, good quality, there's no dust or any foreign particles are seen. So you should maintain proper condition including personnel, and less crowd in this area, only required personnel are in there. So try to avoid flow of personnel at that area, only required person are present in that particular area. Next, in manufacturing area, unpressed formulation of how you manufacture or how you unpress this for this formulation of drug or your API. In this blow feed and seal method mainly used. It is used for manufacturing of unpreserved ophthalmic product, because some ophthalmic preparation is not required. These condition are not a preservative condition. So in this condition, we are prepared that this method. So this method is more, mainly or only for unpreserved ophthalmic product, especially for artificial tear product. This artificial tear product is not required sterile condition, so that you can prepare. In this first step is extrude polyethylene resin at a high temperature and pressure, and form the container by blowing and polyethylene resin into mold with compressed air, and product is vented out, and finally the container is sealed on the top. Means directly you manufacture container as well your formulation, you extrude out large quantity of polyethylene resin, and extrusion condition, large temperature or pressure, high temperature or pressure is required, and due to this the container is blown and after blowing or due to the blowing, polyethylene resin is converted into one mold or one container due to this compressed gas, and product is vented out to this compressed container or that mold. And after filling the particular required amount of volume of your tier formulation, it gets sealed at the top of the mold. So these type of non or unpreserved ophthalmic preparation are prepared. This is a procedure. In this, we just applying large amount of polyethylene resin, and it goes to a mold and maintain a one shape or convert it into one shoe. And after that, there's a filling is done, or you fill your formulation in a specific required amount, and after that you seal at the top of the mold or the top of the container. It's a final diagram in the right side. In this, you can see that packed or sealed container of your ophthalmic preparation. Next is the equipments. Which equipment is required for these ophthalmic preparations. So in this, all tanks, valves, pump, piping must be best available grade of a corrosion, means resistance to corrosion, or they are manufacturing by stainless steel, because if there's a tank are not a good quality, or walls or pumps or piping must be in a proper condition or arranged in a parallel way, so that less chances of dust accumulation or leakage. And if it's suppose non-steel, stainless steel, then in this condition less chances of more chances of corrosion. It can easily corrode or show maybe impurity or contamination in your formulation, because there is a corrosion present in your formulation. So you can check during selection of these all tanks, pipes and the walls. It must be free from all the bacteria and proper good quality grade, as well as stainless steel, so that less chances of corrosion or no chances of corrosion takes place. Otherwise, you use good quality material, and all products contain contact surface should be polished either mechanically or by electro polishing to provide a surface as free as possible from scratches and defect. Means for a good quality product or a good surface, you polish these material or these walls or tanks with some polishing agents. And in this product containing surface are polished either by mechanically or electro polishing. These are two methods that you use for polishing. One is mechanically polishing and second is electro polishing. And this provides the surfaces as free as possible for scratches and defects. Instead of a corrosion, it is a free from scratches and some defects also when you polish these container with the help of mechanical electro polishing method. So it give clean, good quality, clear or clean surface of your material, and there's less chances of some defect and scratches in that particular material. Next is care should be taken in the design of such equipment to provide adequate means of cleaning and sterilization. You should take proper condition or care during the manufacturing or design of this equipment. You may manufacture that equipment or check that equipment is easily clean or sterilized, and don't show any problem during cleaning and sterilization. Before completing one batch and to start next batch, it can easily clean and sterilize. Don't have a difficult task to clean and sterilize, or after cleaning and sterilization, it should be bacteria free and in a good quality. So you can also check that equipment should have good quality construction, so that you can easily handle and clean and sterilize as well as. Next is the packaging of ophthalmic product. These ophthalmic preparations are also very sensitive and required sterile condition during packaging, and you use good quality of packaging material, because there may be chances that your formulation get interacted with this packaging material. So try to use those type of material only which do not show any interaction with that particular formulation or ingredient or your container. So in this container, eye drops should be packed in a neutral glass container or suitable plastic container. Means mainly eye drops are packed in a plastic as well as in a glass container according to condition or according to formulation. But these glass or plastic containers should be neutral in condition, so less chances of contamination don't affect your formulation. And these are properly sterilized and good quality glass and plastic container. And in olden days, the eye drops are stored in vertical fluted umbered glass bottle fitted with backlight cap carrying a dropper. I mean, these are the novel packaging, or you can say nowadays we are packed with glass or plastic container. Otherwise, in old days or previous day, these eye drop are stored in a one umbered glass umbered glass color glass bottle, and these are vertically fluted bottle which is made up of a glass and color is mainly umbered, and these colored glass bottle is fitted with backlight cap. There is one backlight cap is installed or fitted in the container, and these backlight container have also one dropper, and these dropper has to easily remove required amount or required drop of your formulation, and the bottle must be conformed to limit test for alkalinity of a glass. And nowadays, neutral glass bottle having a capacity of 4 to 8 ml are used. Means all day used that particular backlight bottle is also requires some testing procedure. It should be free from alkalinity reaction or free from contamination. After that, you can use this bottle. But nowadays, we replace this bottle. Now we use a neutral glass and plastic bottles, and these have a more capacity. You can fill up to 4 to 8 ml for ophthalmic preparation in the container. Next, it has a two polypropylene screw cap, one for attaching the silicone rubber treat to container, another is covering the treat. Means in this there's a two screw cap instead of one. There's two screw cap. One out of this two, there's one is mainly of made of polypropylene screw cap and second attaching to silicone rubber, and the second is mainly made of rubber that treat the container and other covering the treatments. There are two covering or two caps are present in ophthalmic preparation. And the plastic Swiss bottle having a reset plastic cap and polyethylene friction, and plug remaining by the product, so that we are used these nowadays sterilization method. Means these bottles are a good quality and we are using it nowadays, and it is easy to sterilize and less chances of contamination due to two caps or two Swiss part or a screw cap are present in this bottle, and it is neutral in condition and don't contaminate your product and easily sterilize. This is a cap, or you can say that double cap for your eye drop preparation that we are nowadays using, rubber and plastic. Figure showing different types of a capping, and in this many different container closer vendor supply these bottle and cap configuration. Means these have a two caps or made of plastic and rubber, but according to manufacturer or according to vendor or supplier, the selection of a cap is depend on that particular person. He may or she may design according to their choice, because these caps are available in a different configuration or different sizes or different shapes according to bottle. And the container closure system design is not engaged to secure the plastic ring around the bottle and neck. As a result, the plastic rings are likely to slip off the bottleneck on the patient eye when the bottle is inverted to administer the eye drop. There's a one drawback. When we see this, there's one ring or plastic ring which is you added here to tight or tightly close your container or apply these caps. So there's one drawback during the applying. There may be chances that these cap or these ring is removed through this and come directly in the eye of that patient. So these should be removed, and in this condition we can say that these container closure systems are designed is not an engineered way and to secure plastic ring around the bottle neck, and the result of the plastic ring are likely to slip off the bottleneck of the patient eye, and the bottle is inverted to administer the eye drop, because during the administration it requires inverted condition, so that these ring is easily removed and comes into the eye of the patient. And next is a sharp ring form when the seal is broken and the cap ring can cause the corneal aberration. Means you can see that there is a sharp ring or edges are also found in that ring, and when we seal this is a broken cap and ring can cause the corneal aberration as well as, or that's why you replace these metal to rubber or any other plastic container, so there's less chances of aberration or corneal corrosion, showing some corrosion in your container. Next is the packaging. So these packaging is also specific for ophthalmic preparation or according to ophthalmic requirement, you pack your formulation. In packaging, eye drop has a packaging almost entirely in a plastic dropper bottle. Means you maybe use glass as well as plastic, but dropper should be in a plastic dropper bottle, and container should be in a plastic dropper. And advantages of this drop containers or bottle, and this convenience of a use by patient, decrease contamination, means the patient can easily use, or convenience to patient, don't show any error or any problem during administration, or don't require any trained person, anyone can administer these formulation into the eye. And the next is potential lower weight, so it can be easily handled because during the administration we require the bottle in a inverted condition. If it's in large and weight, so in this condition it handle difficult, or maybe chances that slip through hand by the large weight or any other condition. So you should maintain the proper weight, or it is lower in weight, so you can easily administer into your eye in inverted condition. Next is the lower cost, so that everyone can purchase or everyone can use these eye drop. It's not too much costly. It have a flexible in their cost, or low in a cost. And next is the plastic bottle and dispensing tip is made up of low density polyethylene with LDP resins, which provide the necessary flexibility and interness. Means you try to use, or maybe use only low density resins, and in low density resins, mainly polyethylene resins we are used, because this is a good resin, or we can say that plastic. It can have a good flexibility and inertness. It do not interact with your formulation, your excipient. It should be inert in condition as well as flexible. Due to the flexible nature, you can easily administer these eye drop into your eye. So these for dispensing of a bottle, you should only use plastic, that is LDP resins only, and these LDP is flexible as well as inert in nature. So less chances of contamination of your formulation, as well as the cap is made up of harder resin than the bottle. Because cap require good quality and maybe airtight and don't contaminate your formulation. For these cap is not require sneezing procedure, or during administration flexibility is not required. You just remove the cap and put in another area. After administration you close. That's why we are require hard material for the cap part, but soft material and soft resin for this body part, because it requires sufficient flexibility so that you can easily administer it into your eye. It's not a suitable flexibility, then maybe show more problem during administration. And cap is mainly made up of harder resins, because it's not require any flexibility, and it require only inertness and good quality that do not affect the formulation or do not contaminate your formulation. Next, in continuation of packaging, a special plastic ophthalmic packaging are made up of polypropylene is introduced. The bottle is filled sterilized by steam under pressure, that is 121 degrees Celsius. Means when we are packing in normal ophthalmic preparation or ophthalmic formulation, we should require maintain the sterile condition, or for sterilization we are using steam sterilization procedure. And packaging material that we use for packing is polypropylene glycol, is a good plastic that we use for ophthalmic packaging of the formulation. And sterilization, mainly we are using steam sterilization, and for steam sterilization that use specific pressure or under pressure manufacture. Sterilization is requires specific pressure, and in this we maintain the pressure is 120 degrees Celsius, and at 120 degrees Celsius we sterilize your ophthalmic formulation, so there's maybe chances of any contamination or any microbes present get easily killed due to this system steam sterilization, or at 121 degrees Celsius temperature. Next is a powder for reconstituent, also used for container. Means these container are also used for those formulation, or for those formulation which have a reconstituent. These reconstituent powder are manufactured mainly packed in the glass bottle, because it's not require sneezing or administration procedure. We are just removing powder and reconstituent before using. That's why these powder or reconstituent powder is packed in a glass container, and this powder is just in a sterilized condition and maintain proper sterilized condition, and owing to heat transfer characteristics which are necessary during the freeze drying process. Means for sterilization of these reconstituent powder, we are using heat sterilization for heat transfer, because in a steam sterilization there will be chances of moisture present in during, or maybe show any moisture in the formulation. But in heat transfer, there is no moisture is required. We are using the extra heat. You should take care that these temperatures not too much higher, so that it can degrade your formulation. Maintain proper condition, proper temperature for sterilization. All bacteria are killed but don't affect your formulation. The formulation should be in a sterile condition. And these reconstituted powder are mainly packed in a glass container, so that high heat is also not affect container also. In plastic, there may be chances that high heat it can may be damaged, but glass container are stable, so that you can easily use heat transfer procedure or heat sterilization for reconstituent powder. And it can be good quality formulation when you sterilize by heat sterilization, because it is good sterilization technique which kill almost all the bacteria or maximum bacteria and free from bacteria formulation. And proper sterilized formulation is received by the help of this heat sterilization. And packing purpose for reconstituent powder is mainly use glass container. Next is a glass bottle is made of a sterile by dry heat or steam autoclave sterilization. Means these glass bottle is also made of a sterile condition, and for this we can use both dry heat as well as steam sterilization technique. In dry heat we are using autoclave, and steam sterilization we are using dry heat sterilization we are mainly using oven, and for steam sterilization we are using autoclave. So that for glass bottle you can also use both the technique for sterilization, heat as well as dry heat as well as steam sterilization. And umber glass is used for light resistance. If your product is resistance to light or UV light or any other light including sun rays, so in this condition you pack your formulation in umber glass color glass container, because these umber color glass container are resistant to light and protect your formulation to get degrade due to presence of light. So in this condition you pack your formulation only in umber color glass container bottle only. Next is semi-solid dosage form ophthalmic ointment, that you how you pack. And this we include both the semi-solid as well as liquids. And in this semi-solid we may be taking example of ointment, because it requires different condition for packaging. In previous we are discussing packaging for liquid, and for semi-solid it requires different condition. In the packaging of a semi-solid, ophthalmic ointment are packed in a collapsible tin tube or aluminum tube. Means for packing of a semi-solid dosage form, mainly we are require a tube, or for tube manufacturing or packaging of a tube, you can also use a small collapsible tin tube or also aluminum. Means both tin as well as aluminum are used for manufacturing of these tube, and semi-solid are packed only in this tube. And these tubes are both are in a compatible with the formulation tin as well as aluminum. So first is a small collapsible tin tube. In this tin tube, usually holding 3.5 gram of a product, and pure tin tube is compatible with fine range of a drug. And petroleum-based ointment means when you use this small collapsible tube, you can fill capacity is up to 3.5 gram, or formulation capacity is 3.5 gram, but it is compatible and having a good quality, so that it can be don't interact with your formulation and show the compatibility with your formulation. And you can easily store your formulation in this tin tube, including petroleum-based ointment also. Next is aluminum tube, and this aluminum tube have been used because of their lower cost, and the alternative should be supply of the tin. If you should prepare less cost formulation, or not use tin, or there's any problem with tin, then for alternative purpose you can also use this aluminum. This is alternative of a tin. According to cost wise, these aluminum is less cost require, or you can say that cost wise this is also reduced, because aluminum is cheap as compared to a tin. Tin is a costly product, so you can replace these tin with aluminum tubes. Next is a plastic tube made from flexible low density polyethylene resins. Means instead of a tin as well as aluminum, you can also use some plastic tubes, or manufacture with the help of plastic material. In this plastic material we are using mainly LDPE, low density polyethylene resins, that is considered packaging of a semi-solid dosage form. So we see that there's a three material that we use for packaging of a semi-solid dosage form. One is a tin, and tin is replaced by aluminum, which have a low cost, and these are also replaced by plastic, and plastic LDPE will be used. And this is also alternative material for packing of semi-solid dosage form. And next is a field tube may be tested for leaker. After filling or complete or sealing these tubes, you check if that tube having any leakage or not. It is a good quality so that you can easily sneeze out your product without any leakage and required amount of without any contamination. So after filling this tube, there's a leaking test is also required. Next, the screw cap is made of a polyethylene and polypropylene. The cap can be source of metal particle, must be cleaned carefully before sterilization by autoclaving and ethylene oxide. Means these formulation is not only required for sterilization. Instead of your tube and formulation, you should also sterilize your cap part also with the help of sterilization technique of autoclaving as well as gases technique. In this, ethylene oxide is used. Means steam sterilization and gas sterilization are mainly used, and these cap are made up of polyethylene as well as polypropylene material. Next is the evaluation test of this ophthalmic preparation. How you evaluate this ophthalmic preparation. This evaluation test is also very important. You should make sure that the formulation is free from bacteria, microbes during this evaluation. If the test is passes, then your formulation is ready to come in the market. This formulation is also very sensitive. In evaluation test, first we check that is metal particle, because any metal particle is present in this formulation, it should damage in your cornea or into your eye, because these metal particles are very toxic or harmful to your eye. In this metal particle, the test is required only for ophthalmic ointment. We already discussed the parental product or any other formulation. So these metal tests we do not perform in any other formulation. These metal test is only required or important for ophthalmic product only. And in this metal test, the presence of the metal particle will irritate the corneal and conjunctival surface of the eye. Well, we say that these metals may be very dangerous or show more irritation or infection into your eye, or maybe cornea as well as conjunctival surface of your eye. So that you formulate only metal-free formulation, or check that there's any metal particle is present or not in your formulation. And this is performed using a tan ointment tube. We are taking a tan tube randomly. For performing these tests, we are required tan ointment tubes in a random for that particular batch. And the content from each tube is completely removed onto the clean 60 mm diameter petri dish and possess flat bottom. Means after taking 10 tubes or 10 ointment tube randomly in that particular batch, these tubes are open and remove complete material or complete formulation into petri dish, or you spread this formulation into petri dish so that it can easily check these metal content. Means you remove complete material present in your tube or clean completely in a 60 mm size petri dish plate, and the lid is closed, and product is heated 85 degrees Celsius for 2 hours. And once the product is melted, distributed uniformly, it is cooled and to room temperature. Means after removing or complete removing this material into the petri dish, you heat this material in a closed condition and you close these containers properly, and heating is takes place at 85 degrees Celsius for 2 hours. At least 2 hour heating is required at 85 degrees Celsius temperature. And once the product is melted and distributed uniformly, you start cooling the formulation or your product until it gets confirmed in a room temperature. Means after 2 hours, your product get completely melt or uniformly distributed in that plate. And after that, we start lowering of this temperature until it get come in a room temperature, and the lid is removed after solidification. When we are heating this formulation, it converted into liquidified form or uniformly distributed in a liquidified form. but at room temperature it again solidified. After solidified, you remove the lid of your container, and the bottom surface is then viewed through the optical microscope at 30x magnification. Means after solidification, you directly observe with the help of microscope this formulation, and with the help of optical microscope. In this, mainly we are using 30x magnification lens for viewing metal content. So it is a very simple method. First, you remove all the material in a petri dish, and randomly 10 tubes are selected. This completely remove that formulation, and after that you heat for 2 hours at 85 degrees Celsius. And after heating, it lowers the temperature and comes in a room temperature. At room temperature, it gets solidified, and after that solidification, remove the leads and use optical microscope to check that any metal particles are present in the formulation or not. And in this 30x magnification lens are required for checking these metal particles. Viewing surface is eliminated using external light source position at 45 degrees Celsius on the top. Means you can also change some light source. Entire bottom of the ointment is examined, and the number of particles 50 micrometer or above counted using a calibrated eyepiece micrometer. The USP recommended number of such particles in a 10 tube should not. After observation in optical microscope or proper setting of angles, you can count these metal particles present. And according to USP, there is a limitation or specific amount of particles should be an accepted limit. In overall test tube, according to USP, we are accept 50 particles. It do not exceed more than 50 particles. Or when we see the individual test tube, so in this individual tube, 8 particles in each tube should be considered. It should not be exceed this 8 particles in each tube. And overall is 50 particles are recommended. Otherwise, you can reject your batch or retest your batch. Limit are not meet the test as repeated with additional 20 tubes. Hence, it show more than 50 particles present in your formulation or exceed the USP limit. Then you perform these tests again or retest again on 20 tubes. So that 30 tubes we are using in this test. And in this, total number of particle tube is 30 and not exceed 150, and not more than 3 tubes allowed to contain more than 8 particles. Individual tube condition is same, means individual tube as at this require 8 particles or not exceed 8 particles. But we are adding 20 more tubes, so there are 30 tubes are present in this test. So these overall 30 tubes don't exceed the particle more than 150, or it should be range of 150, if not more than 150 particles. After this checking, if it's more than 150, then you reject your batch and don't retest is required. And if it's within the range or within the 150 particles range, then you can accept your batch, and individually 8 particles in each tube is required. In this 8 tubes, we are taking a limit is only 3 tubes. Means if 3 tube only have more than 8 particle and its limit is within the 150 particle, then you can also accept, but more than 3 tubes are not accepted. Next, second test is leakage test. In this, we are checking that your tube have any leakage or your container have any leakage, so that it can affect your formulation, easily contaminate your formulation, or maybe show more problem. So in this test, we are checking the leakage, that is any present in your container or not. In the leakage, the test is mandatory for ophthalmic ointment, which evaluate the intactness of ointment tubes and is sealed. Means these leakage test is not necessary for liquid formulation, but it is mandatory or very important for ophthalmic preparation, so that you can evaluate easily to intactness of the ointment tube and seal. And the DIN sealed container are selected and the exterior surface are cleaned. In this leakage test evaluation or ointment evaluation, we are taking a tin containers tube or tin container material. In this, we are checking the exterior surface or outside side surface of your tube. It's in properly clean condition, not having any dust or any material. After that cleaning or checking, you start performing. In this, they are horizontally placed over absorbent blotting paper. Maintain at 60 degrees Celsius plus minus 3 degrees Celsius for 8 hours. Means after taking these tube randomly or removing dust or cleaning properly, you directly add these tube or put onto the adsorbent. No need to perform anything. You just put these tube onto the adsorbent, and temperature you should maintain, that is 60 degrees Celsius plus minus 3 is considered, and put this for 8 hours. After that, the test is passes if leakage is not observed from the any tube. If leakage is observed, then test repeat to the additional 20 tube. After 2 hours, after 8 hours at 60 degrees Celsius, you observe that there's any leakage is present or not into a tube. If any leakage is present in any tube, then you take another 20 tubes and perform 30 tubes and show that these tubes are is okay or not. In this test passes if more than one tube show leakage out of these 30. And you see the leakage by the visual observation if any leakage present in your formulation or in your tube. So it can easily show or absorb and absorb the moisture or formulation of your ophthalmic ointment, and check that absorbment is also in a dry state or not, or any leakage of ointment is showing or not into the absorbent. Next is a sterility test for ophthalmic preparation. It's the next test for the ophthalmic preparation. In this, we are checking that during packaging or during filling there's any formulation contaminated or any material or unwanted contaminations occur or not, or you can also sterile your formulation. In this sterility test, ophthalmic semi-solid should be free from anaerobic and aerobic bacteria. In this sterility test, we are checking not only bacteria but also fungi. We are checking both aerobic and anaerobic bacteria as well as fungi. In this sterility test is present or not in the formulation. And sterility tests are therefore performed by two techniques, or these are the two methods that we use for determination of microbes or bacteria and fungi, both aerobic and anaerobic interformulation. In this, mainly one technique is membrane filtration method. Second is direct incubation technique. This is similar to parental product, means two techniques are used for sterilization testing. And in this membrane filtration, direct incubation technique is used. In membrane filtration, saturation of a test product is 1% is prepared in isopropyl ariestrate and allowed to penetrate through cellulose nitrate filter. Pore size is less than 0.5 micrometer. Means you take just 1% of your formulation in a tube or your container. Not complete formulation is required, just you are taking a 1% solution or 1% drug formulation, and after that taking 1% formulation, you dissolve these formulation into isopropyl myristate. For dissolving, use only isopropyl myristate, and after this dissolving, you allow to filter or penetrate through this filter paper or cellulose nitrate filter. And for filtration of these cellulose nitrate filter, pore size is required only 0.5 micrometer, so that you can easily filter out or less chances of filtration of particle, or if it's a good pore size which is sufficient for this test. And next is, if necessary, for gradual suction or pressure is applied to aid the filtration. Due to this isopropyl myristate, it can easily filter out. If it's not easily filter out, so then if it shows some problem, then you can also use some suction pump or suction pressure for this filtration, so that it can be easily filtered out. And the membrane is washed 3 times, 100 ml qualities of sterile diluting and rinsing fluid is transferred aseptic into fruit dye glycolate medium and soybean casein digest medium. Next, after this, the membrane is washed in 100 ml sterile rinsing fluid or in any other solvent at least 3 times, and after that a filter paper you put in a fluid made in a medium. In this, we are using 2 medium. One is fluid dye glycolate medium and second is soybean casein digest medium, and the membrane is incubated for 14 days, and both on this medium is indicated the presence of anaerobic or aerobic bacteria. Means after 15 days or after filtration, you incubate these filter paper into medium and put this for 14 days, and after 14 days you check that any bacterial growth is observed or not that particular filter paper. In this, soybean casein digest medium indicate fungi and aerobic bacteria. We are using sodium casein medium as well as fruit dye glycolate. If any growth is observed in soybean casein digest medium or filter paper, then we can say that there is fungi or aerobic bacteria are present in your formulation, and absence of any growth in both media establish the stability of the product. If any bacterial growth is not observed or no growth is observed in your formulation, then we can say that there's no bacteria or fungi present in your formulation. It's completely sterile condition. Next is a direct incubation technique. In this, one part of the product is diluted 10 parts of sterile diluting and rinsing fluid with the help of emulsifying agent. Means in this we can also use 1 part or 1% of the formulation, dilute up to 10 parts of a sterile solution and diluting fluid, and incubate for fluid glycolate and soybean casing digest media. There is also same media is required for growth, both soybean casing and fluid glycolate, and you observe for 14 days or put these into 14 days. In both the technique, number of test article is based on batch of the product. If batch size is less than 200 the container, then either 5% of the container or 2 container, which is greater for use. The batch size is more than 200 or 10 container are used for sterility testing. So these are the limit according to passing of the test. Both tests are almost similar. Only difference is that in the membrane filter, we are filtering a formulation. In direct incubation, we are just dissolving into 10 parts and incubate in a particular medium and check that any particles are presented or not in both fluid glycolate and cassette media. After completing this topic of ophthalmic, including container packaging and evaluation test, we should know about these learning outcome of this topic. Brief introduction about the ophthalmic preparation. What are the ophthalmic preparation, including introduction? Next is the labeling of the container ophthalmic preparation. Evaluation of ophthalmic preparation. Next is the reference part in this Answer pharmaceutical dosage form drug delivery system. 8 Hava C. Answer published by BI Publication Private Limited. Famous textbooks of physical pharmaceutics by CBS Subramanian published by Vallabh Prakash. Next is the theory and practice of industrial pharmacy by Leon and Rackman, Sambas, Lieberman, Joseph L. King. Third edition published by Beverly Publishing House. Next reference is Martin Physical Pharmacy, Pharmaceutical Science. Fifth edition by Patrick J. Simcoe, published by Lippercott and William and Wilkin. Next is a question part which is related to this topic. In this is a chemical product produced microorganism that cause fever bacteria in a patient is a bacteria, these viruses. C is a pyrogen and D is the microorganism. Second question, when a solution has a lesser osmolarity, then the blood is hypotonic, hypertonic, and isotonic and tonic. In third question, what percentage of NaCl is isotonic with I? And this is 0.5%, B is 0.9, C is 1.9, and D is the 5%. Fourth question is T have a pH of about A is 5.4, B is 6.4, C 7.4, D is 8.4. In fifth question, we can say that which layer of eye is also called as white of the eye. In this is the cornea, B is the sclera, is iris, and D is the retina. In sixth question, water for injection contain bacteriostatic agent in the container of 100 ml less. B is 30 ml of the less. C is the 50 ml of the less, and D is the 10 ml of the less. In seventh question, which of the following is not used in thickening agent of ophthalmic product? A is a methyl cellulose, B is CMC, C is the ethyl cellulose, and D is the PEG. And eighth question, most of the commonly used preservative in ophthalmic preparations is chlorobutanol, mixed. B is a phenyl mercuric acetate, C is a phenyl mercuric nitrate, D is benzoaminum chloride. And in ninth question, which of the following surfactant prefer in ophthalmic due to less to irritation? A is ionic, B is cationic, C is amphoteric, D is non-ionic. In last 10th question, the sterility test of liquid involves is colorimetric assay, B is unific assay, C is culturing in food glycolate medium, and D is the FPLC method. So all are the 10 questions related to this topic. So thank you so much for watching and listening this video. Thank you.